The Tigers are looking for a dominant home performance as they face off against Southampton live at the MKM Stadium. Hello there and welcome back to the Hull City Fan Central YouTube channel, where today I'll be giving you my preview, prediction and everything you need to know ahead of Hull City versus Southampton live at the MKM Stadium. Yes, the Tigers are back home, first home game following the international break. Of course, we was away last weekend, bringing it back from the depths of it to a 2-2 draw against Swansea. But now we face off against Southampton in what on paper should seem like it's going to be a bit of a tougher clash. But with the current situation of how Southampton are going, it doesn't sound like it might be, but we could very well be mistaken. Southampton could quickly turn it around on a dime. They have a very good manager in Will Still, of course, linked with the Hull job numerous of times over the past couple of years. So let's hope that the Tigers can have it out there at the MKM Stadium. Of course, we've been talking, let's make the MKM Stadium a fortress this season. It's not been in years prior. Let's make this year that little bit special. So, injury update-wise, well, some positive news all around, really. Hull City have no new injury concerns, so no new players added onto the injury list. But there is some positive news regarding additions back. Liam Miller is expected to be returning to the squad for this game. The decision will be made over the next couple of days, of course, leading into the game tomorrow to see if he will be within the squad to face off against Southampton. Presumably, it would be a bench role, and then he might get a little cameoed 5-minute, 10-minute appearance towards the end of the game, if the sort of lay of the land appeals for it. So Miller, of course, hasn't played since October last year when he suffered that ACL injury against Burnley at the MKM Stadium. Well, he's been back in full training for the past couple of weeks and really pushing hard to try and get back. He made a nice little interview on, I think it was some podcast or something over the past week, where he was talking about how this sort of injury spell has been the toughest one for him, and he stayed at Hull throughout the entire time, trying to help the team, help the teammates. Of course, last season, pretty poor season, but he wanted to stay at Hull and work on being a good teammate and B, helping out the team and trying to develop himself as a player and also a person over the past sort of year under this injury spell, of course, rather than returning back to Canada, which maybe he would have preferred to do. So hats off to Liam Miller for that, really, and I certainly would go and check out that little interview over on I think it's on pretty much all social media channels. I've seen it pop up a few times. So there is some other positive news. Brandon Williams will also be involved within the squad. He wasn't involved last weekend due to a concussion that he served in a Tuesday night training. But the assistant boss, Dean Holden, has confirmed that he will be in the squad to face off against the Saints. Semi Ajayi and Matt Crooks are not yet fit to feature as they both recover from their hamstring and ankle injuries respectively, but it's hoped that they can be available for next weekend's clash against Watford. So some positive news there. On the injury front, certainly looking for a dominant bounce back from Mohamed Baloumi. We'll be getting on to him in a second. So, Hull City predicted starting 11, powered by friends over at Fanhub. If you do not know what Fanhub is, it's a fantastic free app where you get rewarded for being a football fan for free. Go and check them out, link in the description, all that sort of goodness. So here's my Hull City predicted starting 11, which I think Sergei Ikievich will roll out for this one. So only, I think, one change I've made within the squad. So Ivor Panda remains in the net, of course. He is the man between the sticks. Back lineup, Louis Curl retains his spot in the starting 11. I was quite impressed with him playing a full 90 minutes, his first full 90, his first start of the season after coming back from the hamstring injury, and he looked all right in his performance. Classic Coyle performance. He's going to win them tackles. He's going to get them free kicks in the defensive line and doing a good job all in all defensively. Moving on, John Egan and Charlie Hughes seems to be the centre-back partnership that we're going to see at the moment, certainly until the likes of a Semi Ajayi return. I don't think Akinfenwa quite pips getting into the starting line, but of course he does have that option as being a extra defence piece off the bench. And of course, Ryan Giles to complete out your back lineup. I don't think Brandon Williams will start this one. Of course, we are still talking about a player who hasn't played football in a competitive aspect for a long period of time, and he's sort of just coming back into it. So it might be a little bit of time before we see Brandon Williams get a full run back into a starting lineup. Moving ahead, Amir Hadzametrovic, well, he was okay in his starts to life in a Hull City shirt, of course, making his full debut last weekend. Provided the pass, which then led to the assist for the opening goal for the Tigers, that Ollie McBurney strike, as he laid it off to Ryan Giles. Other than that, wasn't overly impressive on the basis standpoints of things. I know a few people were going leaving a little bit shaky after that game, but of course we will wait and see. It's going to be one of these ones where you're going to have to give him time, see how he can adapt to the English game, and I think a starting role here against Southampton will be a good test for him. Moving over, of course, John Lundstrom over there. He's going to start, isn't he? Fantastic stuff. Moving ahead, Joe Gelhardt sitting behind this sort of front line with Mohamed Baloumi starting his first game after coming back from the injury which derailed his last season, and I think he's going to start this one. Of course, he's been having a lot of cameo appearances recently, got the assist a couple of weeks ago, and so I feel everything's nearing towards Mohamed Baloumi starting this game, or certainly getting a longer run out. But I think a starting job would be best for him. Certainly if you're looking at Akintola's appearance last weekend, it wasn't maybe the best Akintola has seemed. So maybe a Mohamed Baloumi starting this one might be what the doctors ordered. And of course, out on the left, it will be everyone's favourite youngster, Joel Ndala. He's been fantastic so far for Hull City. And then up top, it will be Ollie McBurney. Of course, you're making contention. Kyle Joseph could be slotted in there. He's been an absolute workhorse when he's appeared so far for the Tigers. And of course, you're looking to try and keep things rolling for him. Enis Destan did look quite well when he came off the bench last weekend. But of course, you were talking about a highly competitive squad at the moment with a lot of these injuries coming back, and it's going to be a hard job for Sergei Kirich to pick the best starting 11 to go out there each week. But I think a rotation factor will be best for him moving forwards. And of course, these are going to have some vital bench pieces for the Tigers as they make their way in towards what could be a very busy period for them coming up over the next couple of weeks into the next couple of months. So some other news for the Tigers. We've talked about injury-wise, but it's been a quite slow week other than that, based on sort of news standpoint for Hull City. Other than the EAFC 26 Ultimate Team cards have been released, so all the ratings for all of the Hull City players have been announced. Of course, no surprise, Ollie McBurney is in the top spot with a 74 rating. You then got John Lundstrom at 73, Liam Miller and Ivor Panda both at 72. Amir Hadzametrovic and Mohamed Baloumi, are both at 73. John Egan 72, Giles 71, Elliot Matasso 71, Charlie Hughes 71, and then it's coming in at a rating of 70 is Brandon Williams, Casey Palmer, Semi Ajayi, Regan Slater, Louis Coyle, Joe Gelhardt coming in there at 70, and then some of the lower rankings. So you got a couple of 69 ratings, Matt Crooks and David Akintola, and then Akinfenwo is at 68. Oh, sorry, Cody Dram's also at 69, and it's Destan 68, and then to fill out the rest of the rankings, you've got Darko Gayabi, Joseph, Kyle Joseph, Dylan Phillips, all coming at around 66. Abdusha Mirza 73, but of course he's currently out on loan. But yeah, some good ratings there. Pretty much all silvers, bar Joel Ndala, Harry Vaughan, and then James Furlong, Nathan Tinsdale, and Mason Burstow. The other ones there that are bronze rating. So good turnout, okay, for Hull City. Of course, Ollie McBurney will probably be the one that you are looking to get. I mean, it won't be too hard to find a 74 rated silver. There's for all of them players who play EAFC 26 when it comes out. There's the Hull City ratings being officially revealed. So let's progress back into the meetings between Hull City and Southampton. Last meetings between both sides. Of course, it was a very, very, very good time for Hull City. Last time we met at Southampton in that 2-1 win on the 20th of February with goals, both goals coming in the first half, and of course Fabio Carvalho grabbing one of them and having an absolute scorcher of a game, Fabio Carvalho. So fantastic stuff there. Of course, last time at the MKM Stadium, we did so for a 2-1 defeat. And then time before that, rolling back the years until Hull City were last in the Premier League. Of course, in 2017 with that 0-0 draw. So not many meetings between both sides recently, but of course that's all going to change as Southampton are not looking the best at the moment. So form-wise, there's not a lot of green there for really either team. Of course, a couple of them fixtures in there are mixed in with the Carabao Cup, but wise for the past 5 games, Hull City 2 losses, 2 draws, 1 win, and then Southampton 3 draws, 1 loss, 1 win. Of course, that most recent games for both sides being draws. Southampton 0-0 draw last Sunday against Portsmouth, and that 2-2 draw, as I said, coming back from the deaths of it towards the end of the game in that 2-2 draw away at Swansea City. So both teams not looking fully up to themselves, we'll say. Hull City trying to near back into it, but the table sails, it's always funny to see the table at this point, isn't it? But the table tells one story with 1 point separating both sides. Of course, that means that 5 places separate both sides. Hull City currently sitting in 20th with 5 points. Goal difference is a big shocker. Of course, Southampton's defence have been quite good this season, and that leads us on to former Tigers, into George Long, of course, former Hull City player and currently out on loan at Southampton, but I highly doubt that we will see him in this one. So, player to watch out for. I talked about the defence of Southampton this season. They have been quite good. That's one thing that Will Still is known for. He plays a very, very good defensive lineup, and Ryan Manning has been no exception to that. He is, in fact, actually Southampton's top goal scorer this season in the league with 2 goals. Of course, they have been good defensively, not that best going forward, which is the reason why that they haven't won so many games this season. But 2 goals for Ryan Manning this season, of course, predominantly a left-back, left-wing-back. Played the full 90 last weekend out, and his 2 goals came for against Watford in their 2-2 draw, just game before the international break. And then, of course, on opening day, he grabbed the first goal against Wrexham. So as they pulled out that 2-1 victory there. So, Ryan Manning, certainly a player to watch out for, both defensively and also, it seems like, getting forwards. He can produce a goal or 2 for Southampton, so certainly someone to watch out for down that left-hand side for Southampton. Let's go into the score prediction. Well, I do think it's going to be a bit of a goal fest. 3-2 win for the Tigers. I did talk about Southampton's defence, but Hull City's attack has been looking quite strong. Yes, we haven't been winning too many games recently. We have been leaking in a few goals, but we haven't been looking too bad going forwards. Of course, Ollie McBurney, Joel Ndala, Joe Geldhart, Mohamed Baloumi when he's on the pitch. All these players are looking very promising going forwards, and I think that's going to be no exception here. Hull City have openly said that they are looking to try and bounce back at the MKM Stadium. I think they will try and do so with a 3-2 win, with goals for the Tigers coming through. Ollie McBurney, Joe Geldhart, and Mohamed Baloumi grabbing his first goal for the senior Tigers. Of course, he grabbed 2 for the under-21s since coming back from his injury. So I'll ask you to let me know down in the comments what your predictions ahead of this game is. Leave with that photo of Sergei Yakirovich. What your predictions ahead of this game, who you think will score, what you think the scoreline will be. Hopefully, it will be a win for the Tigers. I will be there at the game, so make sure you stay tuned on the channel for a vlog afterwards to see all of the breakdown from what happens as Hull City take on Southampton. So stay tuned on the channel by liking and subscribing to see that vlog after the game tomorrow, and also keep up to date with everything Hull City here on the Hull City Fan Central YouTube channel. So I'll see you in the next video. Up the Tigers.